boys and girls. Today we're going to be going over the Big 6. So what we did is we looked at our introduction, we looked at our standards, we defined our objectives. Then you guys took a pre-assessment to see what we were learning about, as well as you had a chance to look at several videos and resources on the Big 6. So now let's go over what we've learned, do a quick summary so that you guys are ready to do a quick evaluation and dig into your research. So in your class, you guys are doing animal research. And so we're going to go over those steps using a frog as our model of how we would do this research. We're also at the end going to have a handout that we're going to look at that's going to show you the different steps, as well as on the back of that handout is going to have links to help you with your research as well as graphic organizers. So the first section of our Big 6 model is that task definition. The task definition is when you define the problem and determine what information is needed. So for instance, I want to learn more about frogs. So my problem is I want to know information about frogs, and specifically I want to know their habitat or where they live, their diet or what they eat, how they reproduce in their life cycle, and what is their predator and their prey. So that's the information I'm looking for. I'm narrowing down everything about frogs to just that information. Then I'm going to be looking at my information seeking strategies. This is where you determine possible sources and choose the best source. So in this situation, I have some fiction books, some nonfiction books, some e-readers, Publico Next, Get Epic, and Capstone Plus. So as I'm going through all those sources, that's a lot of information. I automatically can say I don't need those fiction books because they're not going to give me factual information to support my research. So I'm going to take all those fiction books out. I'm going to take out anything that may be a play on frogs. I want to look for things that are going to have information and facts. I also want to make sure it's geared towards frogs, not toads. So if anything that's a toad, I'm going to put aside and say that's not going to be the best resource for me. Now that I have my sources picked out, I'm going to look at the location and access. This is where we actually dig into those sources and find the information, both intellectually and physically. So when I'm on Publico Plus, I'm going to look at frogs and I'm going to say, okay, it has habitat. This is where I'm going to pull that habitat section and write down where they live. This is where I'm going to pull their diet. Now, as you're doing this step, it is very important you write down your source as well because we always cite our sources. We do not want to take credit for someone else's hard work. After I've taken all my notes, I have all my information, it's time to use that information. This means I'm engaging and extracting information. So I found all the sources. I'm now going to take it and say, okay, I learned this, and I learned this, and I learned this, and I learned this. And I'm going to start putting it together saying, okay, I have everything I need for diet. I have everything I need for how they reproduce. Once I have all that organized, it's time to synthesize or organize our information to present it. So I have all that information and this is where I'm going to present it. And that could look many different ways. You could present it in a haiku, you could write a research book, which is what you're going to be doing for your class. You could be making it into a play, you could be acting it out, you could be writing a newsletter or a newspaper article. So there's many different ways to present this information, but what you're going to do is you're going to take everything you learned about your specific task from that task definition and then present that information. And then you're going to evaluate how you did. Did you show that information? Did you follow your task? Did you meet your objectives? Were you on task? Were you off task? Were you able to present that information where others were able to understand it? So this is our evaluation and our check-in. How did we do? So here is going to be your handout. It's called Hopping into Research with the Big 6. It has all 6 steps. So we start with our task definition, our information seeking strategies, our location and access, our use of information, our synthesis, and our evaluation. Now on the back of our handout is going to be some links and QR codes. The reason I've done it this way is because we do use Google Classroom. You can just click on the links because this handout will be in your Google Classroom. Or you can choose to you can have the printed out version that you're going to have in your research notebook, and you can use your tablets or our laptops to scan the QR codes to access this information. And some of the information in here I have for you is our basic webinar. This is presented by Mike Eisenberg, and it's going to go through each step with you. So you can see there's the 6 steps, and it goes into detail for each step. I have your writing process organizers. This is going to tell you what, for example, the task definition, what information I need, how much information do I need, what must I include to do a good job, I don't know what to do, and to ask the teacher. The next resource we have to look at is our posters. These are going to be, it does have the Super 3 at first, which you're going to just scroll down, and it's going to give you the Big 6, and it's going to give you our task definition. That's when we define. Information seeking, that's our info seek, that's our planning stage. Our do is our location and access. We're going to get that information. We're going to use of information is use that information, and then we're going to synthesize or produce that information. And finally, we're going to review how we did with our evaluation. I have the inquiry process here for you, which is going to go through each of those steps again. It has the questions that you can ask yourself. And I have a video going over the Big 6 because videos are very helpful when you're trying to remember what we're doing, so you have that visual with the audio as well. So you're going to use all of this information to do your Big 6 plan. We are going to have an evaluation at the end to see how you did and how you would rank yourself. So your job today is to make sure you're getting those books that are going to help you with your tasks after you finish your task definition cards.